Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, I have been on a journey to get all caught up with the Trails games over the past couple years, and now I am finally caught up. I am ready for Trails through Daybreak. But before we get there, why not take some time to rank the games and see which ones I rank and see which ones are good, which ones are bad, and kind of go from there and discuss them. Now, you can see I've got a tier maker right here pulled up on the screen, and we're gonna go through all the Trails games and rank them. I'll share some thoughts on them, and for further thoughts and deeper thoughts, you can go and check out the video for the reviews that I have of those games here on the channel. But let's start off with the one that started it all, and that is Trails in the Sky First Chapter. Now, if you've seen my review for Trails in the Sky First Chapter, you'll know that I had a bit of a... What kind of word best fits how I felt playing this game? I had highs, I had lows, I enjoyed the game, I hated the game at times. It was a bit of a rocky patch, but at the end of the day though, especially now as I look back, I can see what the game was doing and actually appreciate it a lot, thanks to some of you that commented on some of those videos. So, to be honest, if I were to put Trails in the Sky anywhere, I'd give it a B. I'd give it a solid B. I think it's a great game. I think it's good. I think it's cozy. I think it's a good introduction to the series. And it's not perfect. There's some things I don't like about it. You know, I mentioned in my reviews, the difficulty spikes were not that fun running into those. But at the same time, I think it's a strong start, but we'll put it as a B for now. And now let's move over to Trails in the Sky second chapter. And to be honest, I'm just gonna do this right now because this game blew my mind. This is the game that made me go, you know what? I'm going to play the rest of the games in this series. Trails in the Sky second chapter blew my mind on so many levels. The game was incredible. It was great. It hit all the right notes. It had great action, great emotional moments. The gameplay was still good. I mean, I think it was about the same as first chapter, but it just, I don't know, something about second chapter was just firing on all cylinders for me that just, I loved it. I loved it a lot. Now this goes into Trails in the Sky the third, one that I had heard was, I mean, it's obviously different, but people were telling me that, you know, to them, wasn't their favorite, didn't really care for it. Some people even recommend skipping it, which I think is absolutely insane. Do not skip out on Trails in the Sky the third. But I've thought about this, I've been thinking about this a lot. Where would I rank Trails in the Sky the third? Is it up there with Trails in the Sky second chapter for me? And to be honest, yeah, for a few reasons. One, I love the dungeon crawler aspect. I love that change. It was fresh. It was a breath of fresh air. You got to be Kevin for most of the game, which was dope. He was one of my favorite characters in Trails in the Sky second chapter, and he's the main character here pretty much. I thought the expansion of the lore behind the Septian Church was really fascinating. Just digging into that, seeing how that all plays out, learning more about the stigmas and the Grossritter, the game was firing on all cylinders. And then you take into account the doors that you can unlock. They give you more backstory to a lot of these characters. It's all around a really solid game. I don't have anything to really complain about in the game. And I also think that game is a showcase of how you end a trilogy. The ending to Trails in the Sky the third, to me, is perfect. And so for me, it's an S tier game. It's right up there with Trails in the Sky second chapter. I think the game is fantastic. But then we get into a game that I had been waiting for. I had been super excited to get to the Crossbell games because Lloyd looks really cool. I like the look of the SSS. I like the look of Crossbell. Just seemed really cool. And I gotta say, Trails from Zero did not disappoint. Really enjoyed playing that game. I had a lot of fun with it. However, I don't think it's S tier. I don't think it's S tier simply because Azure exists. If Azure didn't exist, Zero would be up there. But Zero had a lot of intrigue, did a really good job of introducing the SSS to us, the players, expanding out Crossbell, getting us introduced to that world, getting us introduced to the different characters. It did a really good job of what it was doing. And to a degree, I think Trails in the Sky first chapter walked so this game could run. So Trails from Zero, we'll put that at an A tier. I think it's an A tier. Now, as I mentioned a second ago, if Azure didn't exist, then Zero would be much higher. But to me, Azure is, yet again, peak Trails content. The places that this story goes and some of the things that it does was just like, it made my jaw drop. I mean, when the red constellation, all that stuff was going on in Crossbell, and like it's just in flames, you're like, oh my gosh, this is wild. Then you got Vwald, who takes one of those pill things and is like going crazy, and it's just like, dude, this game is nuts. This game is bonkers. It goes places. In the end, oh my gosh, the end made me cry. Between Guy and Lloyd, what a game. What a game that Trails to Azure. What a game. But now that brings us to the arc that I know some of these picks is going to annoy people. Some of these picks are probably going to downright upset people, depending on your view of the Cold Steel arc. And I gotta say this, I don't think the Cold Steel arc was as bad as what some people were telling me. Is there some issues with it? Yeah. Is it repetitive? Yes. Did they stretch the games out for too long? 100%. I don't think we needed 4 games in the Cold Steel. Well, technically 5 games if you count Reverie. Regardless, let's start with Trails of Cold Steel 1. Now, here's the thing with Trails of Cold Steel 1. I actually played this game years ago on the Vita. I played it for a little bit and then fell off of it. It just didn't really put its hooks into me, and I just wasn't really interested at the time. But then I played it here just a few years ago, and I gotta say, for the most part, Trails of Cold Steel 1 is pretty cool. It is fun. I like Class 7. The issue with Cold Steel starts to crop up here in that there's too many characters to get introduced to. There's too many characters to the point where you're only gonna care about a select few. And so some characters just fall off. I also felt like Cold Steel 1 was the first time in these games where I started to feel bored in certain parts, and I'm just like, man, I'm just not really enjoying this as much as the other games. And so there's some cool aspects. The ending, I think, is really dope with how it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. Really kind of ballsy stuff there. At the end of the day, when I think about it and I ask myself, would I play this game again? No. And to be honest, I think I'm gonna put Trails of Cold Steel. Should it go to a D tier? Is it that bad? Is it that bad? I think maybe just a C tier. I feel like putting it at D level is that's a little harsh. That's a little harsh, right? I don't know. But then we get into Trails of Cold Steel 2, and this is where I'm like, man, this game, pretty dang cool.
Thanks, Sal.
Let's go, dude! It's my boy Lloyd. They're doing some cool stuff. Crow's coming in there, Vita's doing some stuff. Like, I think the thing with Trails of Cold Steel 2 is I had a lot of fun playing it, but at the same time, it's like Cold Steel 1 where I only remember a few select parts, and I don't really remember a whole lot of it. But there were some cool things with Valimar and getting to do those battles with the mechs. I mean, it was really cool. I had a lot of fun with it, had a lot of fun streaming it. But really, when I think about it, I don't know. Maybe Cold Steel 2 should go at the C tier and Cold Steel 1 should go to the D tier. I feel like this is still a little harsh, but I mean, I did like Cold Steel 2 a lot more than Cold Steel 1. But now we get into Trails of Cold Steel 3, and I gotta be honest with you, I liked Cold Steel 3 a lot. I know it's got some tropes, some anime shenanigans with the backwashing stuff, and that became a whole meme in my chat when I was streaming these games, but man, I thought Cold Steel 3 was really good. I thought it was a really good introduction to New Class 7. I like that New Class 7 was only comprised of like, what, 5 characters? So you got like a great amount of time with each one and you got to learn more about them. And I thought it was really great. It was cool seeing Altina go from being a bad guy to being a good guy and seeing her grow as a character and kind of becoming more of a human. It was really heartfelt. Seeing Kurt come into play, man, I had been rooting for Kurt. Like, I'd been waiting for Kurt to have his moment ever since Cold Steel 3. He doesn't get it until a couple games later. But I like Kurt a lot. I liked Ash, thought he was cool. Muse got on my nerves, I'm not gonna lie. But I had a feeling, I was like, man, there's something going on with this girl where she knows what's going on. She's being sneaky here, but you know she knows what she's doing. My goodness, and then just Yuna just stealing the show. Yuna's a great character all around. If she were to become a main character in a future Trails game, I wouldn't be mad about it. And so I gotta be honest, Trails of Cold Steel 3, I liked it a lot. So much so to the point that I would put it at the A tier. I liked it. You got all the Divine Knight stuff going on too, and my goodness, that's a pretty dang good game. And I gotta say, the way that they ended Cold Steel 3 on that cliffhanger was brutal. I'm so glad I didn't play this game at release, and I played it like a year ago when I did, so I could go straight into Cold Steel 4, because that is a heck of a cliffhanger ending. But I gotta tip my hat to Falcom. That's pretty brave, pretty bold to end a game on that note, and then wait a year to port Cold Steel 4 over to the States, man. Falcom's cooking. Falcom's cooking. But that goes into Trails of Cold Steel 4, and I gotta be honest, I had heard stories about how bloated Cold Steel 4 was, and how annoying it was, and how just like painful to play it was, and everything else. And I gotta be honest, I liked Cold Steel 4. I feel like Cold Steel 4 made sense. It just remedied some issues I had with Cold Steel 3, like characters coming back from the dead. And I'm like, oh, it makes sense why they're coming back to a degree. I get the plot narrative, totally fine now. But it's still, Cold Steel 4 is not a perfect game. It is fun to play. And I do like where the story goes, because you have some really cool Avengers level moments where everybody comes together to fight the main boss. And it just has some really cool moments, but I will admit it does feel like a slog at times. I think it's Act 2 is the chapter or act where it really feels like a slog. It slows everything down. It feels cyclical. It's like, man, if Cold Steel 2 did it, we got to do it again here. With like, hey, you know, we know that you're friends with us, Reen, but we're gonna hold these NPC characters back, and you gotta show us a test of strength to get them back. It's like, it just felt really unnecessary, and I think if you would have took that particular part of the game out, it would have made the game a lot better. But there's still some really cool moments, some really fun moments, and to be honest, Cold Steel 4 is an A tier for me. I think it's really, really good. Those two games, I would see me replaying Cold Steel 3 and 4. I could see me replaying it pretty easily. But then this leads us into the final closing chapter of the Crossbell duology, the Cold Steel games with Trails into Reverie. Now, I recently just did a review on Reverie, so if you want to hear more thoughts about that, you can go check it out on the channel. But for the most part, I felt like Reverie was really good. I felt like it was a really good celebration of the series. C's route easily outshines Lloyd and Reen's 100%. I think the redemption arc for Rufus was really well done. I thought it was really good. This is one of the rare instances in the Cold Steel arc or series, or however you want to chop it up, where a character not dying or coming back from the dead makes total sense here. And I think it just works. A lot of the moments in Reverie just really landed. It's not a very consistent experience. I think Lloyd's route is easily the weakest. Reen's route is fun, but there's some things going on that I just don't feel were explained very well, or you didn't really understand the context if you didn't get a certain memory. And I felt like that really messed the storytelling up a little bit. I feel like if they would have just done C as the main character and went down that route and focused on him, I think that would have been a better experience. But all in all, Reverie is still a really good game. The Reverie corridor is stupid good with the amount of content that's in there. And I want to put it at an S tier, but to me, it just doesn't reach the heights of Sky Second Chapter, Sky the Third, or Azure. So we'll put Reverie at a respectable A tier. Now, we've got a few games left on here, and I'm going to be honest, some of these games I am still in the process of playing or have not played yet. Legend of Nayuta Boundless Trails is one I'm still playing here on the channel on stream. I don't feel like I can rank this game yet, so we're gonna put this down here as haven't yet played, because I don't feel like I can really speak to it very well here. And that's kind of the same thing with Trails through Daybreak. I've only played the prologue in Chapter 1. Very strong impressions so far. Really love the combat system. Love the new characters. Van is really shaping up to be one of my favorite protagonists of this series. Anius is a great side character. Fairy is another great side character. I'm really looking forward to meeting Aaron in Chapter 2 when the game drops, and just meeting all the characters. Seeing Zin again, seeing Walter again has been a blasty blast. And so, yeah, but with that being said, I haven't really finished the game, so I don't feel like I can speak to it or rank it well enough. So we're going to put Daybreak 1 and Daybreak 2 into the haven't yet played category. So that being said, this is my final ranking for the Trails of Ciri at the S tier, we've got Trails in the Sky second chapter, we've got Trails in the Sky the third, and Trails to Azure. It's really peak Trails content right there, peak Trails gameplay. At the A tier, we've got Trails from Zero, Cold Steel 3, Cold Steel 4, and Reverie. At the B tier, we've got Trails in the Sky first chapter. At the C tier, we've got Trails in the Sky. At the C tier, we've got Trails of Cold Steel 2. And at the D tier, we've got Trails of Cold Steel 1. And then haven't yet played is Nayuta, Daybreak, and Daybreak 2. So pretty excited to play Daybreak in July, but let me know what your personal ranking of the series is so far down in the comments below. And if you want more Trails content, consider subscribing to the channel. If you like this video, hit the like button down below. And if it enraged you, just hit the like button. Please, let's discuss it in the comments like adults. But with that being said, thank you for watching this video. And until next time, happy Trails.